On this episode of O'Fallon Matters, meet our new Chief of Police, get an update on the Lake Wetzel project in Fort Zumwalt Park, and see highlights from O'Fallon's annual POWMIA Remembrance Day ceremony. All this and more next on O'Fallon Matters. Welcome to O'Fallon Matters. The awards just keep coming for O'Fallon. Our hometown was recently recognized as one of the top places to live in the entire country. Let's explore what we're doing to earn these awards and how our city will continue to excel.
What makes a city a good place to call home? Well, ask 100 people and you'll probably get 100 different responses. But along the way, you'll probably also start to notice some recurring answers. Affordable homes, good schools, access to well-paying jobs, and safe communities. These are things that matter to everyone, and they're among the thousands of metrics Money Magazine uses to compile their yearly 100 Best Places to Live list. Money Magazine started with a list of around 1,800 eligible cities, then exhaustively whittled down the list with around 160,000 data points. In the end, only 100 cities were left standing, and we're proud to announce that O'Fallon, Missouri is one of 2019's best places to live. O'Fallon residents are already familiar with the suburban charm and wide appeal of O'Fallon, and it's truly an honor to know our hometown is equally famous among national rankings. Coming in at number 24, O'Fallon was the highest ranking city in Missouri and the only St. Charles County city to make the list. Money Magazine had high praise for our small town vibes, wealth of historical attractions and festivals, and acre after acre of beautiful parkland. This ranking confirms what our community already knows. O'Fallon is a city with a serious tradition for excellence.
Once you've done it a few times, it becomes the norm. You do it a few more times, it becomes a tradition. And so for the city of O'Fallon, being the safest place, being the best place to raise a family, being the great education, all of those things have become a tradition for us now. And so now we have to keep that going, or else we're letting our tradition down.
FBI crime data also plays a key role in O'Fallon's high placement on the list, and Money Magazine wasn't the only ranker to note our incredibly low crime rates. Earlier this year, O'Fallon was also named the safest large city in Missouri by the National Council for Home Safety, the #1 best place to live by chamberofcommerce.org, and the #1 safest city to raise a family in Missouri by Safewise.com. Civic growth goes hand in hand with safety and security. The honors and accolades O'Fallon earns each year are due in no small part to the men and women who work here at O'Fallon's Justice Center.
I think any chief would be amiss not to mention the staff of the police department. You know, I mean, the police department is a contributing factor to that, undoubtedly. You know, however, you know, the police department cannot be successful on it by itself. A police department cannot survive in a vacuum. It takes community support, it takes community buy-in, it takes the community caring about their community, and all of that combined, you know, is the reason that O'Fallon is one of the safest cities in the state of Missouri, undoubtedly.
O'Fallon is a perennial favorite on Money Magazine's Top 100 Best Places to Live list, with consecutive appearances in 2006, 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014, and 2017. But 2019's appearance on the list, with our top 25 placement, is our best year yet. While there might be no single metric that leads to our continued excellence, there is a recurring trend that our civic leaders have noticed time and again, and that's our community's hometown pride for O'Fallon.
I am really amazed at how much people care, you know, not only city staff, but I'm talking about the residents of this community. You know, it really is amazing. It's amazing, it's impressive. And I think that goes hand in hand with criminal conduct and keeping criminal conduct out.
If you ever watch the city council meetings, at those meetings I have an opportunity to make a report to the city council and the citizens. And almost every meeting since I've been here, I've had a compliment from a citizen that I can then share with the council and everyone else. And that's amazing, because what that means is our citizens are buying into this as well. We're trying to do a good job. Our citizens are recognizing that and putting forth the effort to make sure we all know. And that's the synergy, that's the teamwork that makes OFallon what it is.
Want to learn more about what Money Magazine has to say about our hometown? You can see the full list at www.money.com and also explore their methodology in compiling their list. You can also rest easy, knowing your hometown is once again nationally recognized as one of America's best places to live.
OFallon's annual POWMIA Remembrance Day ceremony was recently held on behalf of the nearly 90,000 American troops who are still being held as prisoners of war or unaccounted for. Joe Meyer is here with highlights from that ceremony.
POWMIA Day was established back in 1979 by Congress and President Jimmy Carter. The central phrase behind POWMIA is, "You are not forgotten." And this remembrance movement honors prisoners of war and those who are still missing in action. On the third Friday of every September, citizens and veterans gather in remembrance at OFallon's Veterans Memorial Walk. This eternal ceremony is hosted by Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 458 and AMVETS Post 106.
Wetzel proudly we held at the twilight's last gleam.
After the singing of our national anthem, OFallon Mayor Bill Hennessy delivered opening remarks.
Tonight, Americans across the country are gathered in similar ceremonies, reminding our nation to honor its promise of doing everything possible to account for those who have yet to come home. This effort continues to make progress. In the last year, 193 service members have been accounted for. Modern technology and continuing recovery missions provide more hope than ever for locating, identifying, and bringing home our loved ones.
Vietnam veteran and pastor Pat Turner gave an eloquent keynote address.
There are no unknown soldiers. God knows them all by name. His army cannot march beyond his care. Their blood type has established their royal identities. And when the roll is called up yonder, every soldier will be there. There are no unknown soldiers in the army of the Lord, no wounded left to die along the way, no missing in the action commissioned by our King. Every soldier is coming home and at last to stay. The final battle's ended, the noise of conflict still. The ravaged fields lie baking in the sun, for mighty trumpets sounded. The troops were all called home. There was not a soldier missing when this great war was done. God bless our troops, God bless our families, and God bless America. Thank you.
The ceremony concluded with a candle lighting, wreath laying, a rifle salute, and taps.
It's a federal recognition day. We can't never forget all of our missing in action soldiers, and all of our POWs. Until they all come home till we're all found, we'll continue.
We need to tell the next generation and their children's generation about what these men and women did in the past so that they can live in a free country that we have today.
In the end, it's important that we remember and stand behind those who serve, and to make sure we do everything we can to account for those who have never returned from war.
We just recently welcomed a new distinguished member of our executive team. Let's meet the Chief.
Over the past decade, the city of OFallon has been named one of the safest and best places to live in the United States. With low crime rates and award-winning community policing programs, it's no wonder residents consider O'Fallon a great place to live, work, and play. And now, the City of O'Fallon's police department has a new leader who brings a wealth of policing experience as well as high goals for the department.
Do solemnly swear.
Tim Clothier became the Chief of Police for the City of O'Fallon on May 28th. Chief Clothier always dreamed of a career in law enforcement.
I actually had a friend when I was a teenager that sort of a mentor that was a police officer in a small town I was living in Sparta, Illinois. So early on, I determined that, I wanted to be like him. And I talked to him early on, hey, what is the best way to get into a career in law enforcement? He said either college or the military. At that point in time in my life, I felt like I needed more structure, so I enlisted in the Marine Corps.
While in the Marine Corps, he served as a military police officer and presidential support specialist. Clothier was assigned to the White House Military Office and worked as a presidential security guard under former Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Chief Clothier started his civilian law enforcement career in 1991 by joining the Owensboro, Kentucky Police Department. There, Clothier had a diverse, progressive career.
I did achieve the rank of major. Spent just a little under 25 years in Owensboro, Kentucky before I retired and took on the role as the police chief in Ozark, Missouri. I was in Ozark for just a little under 4 years before I resigned a position after accepting a position here in O'Fallon.
Chief Clothier holds an Associates of Science degree from Owensboro Community and Technical College, a Bachelor of Science from Kentucky Wesleyan College, and a Master of Science with an emphasis in Police Administration and Crime Prevention from the University of Cincinnati. And from the first time he visited O'Fallon, Tim was impressed with the city.
In doing the research of the city, seeing that how the schools rank throughout the state, and the community is so clean. And that was one of the things that struck me, because you can tell a lot about a community by the cleanliness of the community. And this community is very, very clean, which is an indication that the community cares about the city.
Chief Clothier has outlined several important goals for the future of the department, and taking steps to becoming an accredited police department is high on his list.
Accreditation decreases the chances of officers being hurt in the line of duty because you have certain policies and procedures in place that govern how you act, how you react to certain situations. And it also greatly reduces civil liability. It's structured guidelines that you have to have in your policies and procedures. So hence the reason it takes a year and a half, 2 years to get there. It's a lot of work because you've got to go through every single policy and procedure to make sure you meet those mandates.
Some changes will take place in the police department under Chief Clothier, but residents should be happy to know that his department's commitment to community policing is unwavering.
O'Fallon has done a tremendous job. The previous chiefs, the previous officers of the city of O'Fallon has done a fabulous job of building and nurturing those relationships. And that's what we need to continue on. We need to continue on fine-tuning some of the programs that we have and then increasing some of the programs, to ensure that we are constantly working and nurturing that relationship with the community. Ensuring that the community knows that, we are a community-owned and operated police department, and we want their input, and we want to be successful, and we want this community to remain a safe community to reside in.
Visitors to Fort Zumwalt Park will notice we made a few minor changes to Lake Wetzel, like completely draining the lake and rebuilding it from the ground up. Let's take a look at some of the new features and what's still ahead for the project.
Fort Zumwalt Park might just be one of the most unique parks in O'Fallon due to its historic significance and natural beauty. One of the park's most standout features is Lake Wetzel. Visible from almost anywhere in Fort Zumwalt Park, Lake Wetzel provides a stunning backdrop for our historical sites and festivals, and is the star of the show at our annual Family Fishing Day. This 3.5-acre lake has been a natural gathering place for families for years, ever since the natural spring that ran through the park was dammed up in the 1970s to create Lake Wetzel in the first place. But after 50 years of serving as the focal point of Fort Zumwalt Park, our lake was finally beginning to show its age. Decades of silt buildup had reduced the depth of the lake to unsustainable levels, affecting the quality of our fish habitats and leading to yearly algae blooms. The only solution was to dredge the lake and reconstruct the habitats and features. And our parks crews quickly got to work earlier this year.
To prevent the silt issue in the future for this lake, with the design of the lake, they've designed 2 forebays to go in. That's where the two tributaries kind of enter the lake. And when it rains real heavy, those carry a lot of silt, a lot of debris down through the park and then into the lake. These forebays are designed to collect that and trap it, and that prevents it from entering the lake. So that is a great attribute of this new design for this lake, and we're really excited to see those go in and help us long term for the quality of this lake.
While the lake is drained, we're also adding thoughtful features that will help make Lake Wetzel an attractive destination for all of O'Fallon's residents.
Another thing I'm really excited about what's going on at Lake Wetzel is the all-access walking path that's going in around the lake. Now when people come to the park, when this is completed, they'll be able to walk all the way around the lake without having to, trample through the woods, the weeds. We'll have this nice path that is ADA accessible, and it's just going to give you a better look at the lake, and I think there's going to be a lot of people utilizing the walking path.
Other features include a new fountain and aeration system to promote the health of our aquatic plantings and wildlife. The new lake also has 3 deeper sections than the original Lake Wetzel, which are perfect for the fish we're planning on stocking into the lake. When the Lake Wetzel reconstruction is completed, you'll also note scenic rock outcroppings for fishers and attractive boardwalks crossing the 2 tributaries that feed Lake Wetzel. We can't wait to show off our newly renovated lake early next year.
The lake renovation is expected to wrap up later this fall. So we're going to have to start stocking with some smaller fish here, hopefully mid-October-ish. The lake isn't going to be fishable for about 3 years. You really got to let those fish grow up and mature and reproduce, and we've got to see that happen before people can start fishing. But come this spring, people should be able to enjoy the lake. Come out here, check it out. We're going to let Mother Nature fill it back up for us, which should happen pretty quickly as long as we don't go into a drought.
The City of O'Fallon's utility bills just got a makeover. Here's everything you need to know about the changes.
Here in the City of O'Fallon, we are blessed with pure drinking water, efficient sewer systems, and affordable waste hauling. We rely on these vital systems every day to keep up a high standard of living. But O'Fallon's infrastructure and services need to be maintained, and each of us pays our share to keep the system running smoothly. Now, you may have noticed that last month's utility bill had a different look. That's because your bill design changed to make it easier to read.
Nothing has changed as far as what we bill you in the utility-wise. It's just the look of the bill has changed. I'm hoping with this new bill, a lot of the questions will be answered before they have to call us, because now we've given them the information that most of the calls do come in can answer.
Don't worry, because you will continue to receive one combined bill if you utilize more than one of the trash, water, or sewer services. Utility rates and calculations are not impacted by this change in any way, but there are a few new features that can be helpful.
Well, like for instance on the front page, there is a chart there that will give the customer that has water with the City of O'Fallon a full year's worth of usage, so they can see how the water has fluctuated up and down, so they can get an idea when they have their peak season and when they have their down season.
The backside of your bill now includes helpful information like winter averaging, backflow device information for sprinkler systems, and other features, including one that lends a helping hand to our community.
On the back side of the bill, there is a small square there that says they can sign up for donation. They can donate by us applying it to their bill every billing cycle, and it goes to Meals on Wheels.
If you would like to find out more information, you can find an example of the new look bill on the front page of the City of O'Fallon's website. This example bill will help walk you through all of the new features. You'll also have the opportunity to use our new e-billing site, where you can make changes to your email and get your bills sooner. Don't hesitate to give us a call if you have any questions. We can be reached at 636-379-5488.
Next in O'Fallon Matters, we'll dive into the story of 2nd Lieutenant Glenn Harrison, World War II bomber co-pilot, French Legion of Honor recipient and former prisoner of war. OFallonTV's Brett Figgis has a story.
What does service to your country mean to you? For 21-year-old Glenn Harrison, it meant leaving his Dust Bowl-stricken hometown of Guymon, Oklahoma behind and signing up for the U.S. Army Air Corps. The year was 1941, and America was embroiled in war against the Axis powers. A college student at the time, Glenn could have kept pursuing his education, but he felt the call of duty and joined the Aviation Cadet Program, where he would become a commissioned officer of the U.S. Army Air Force.
And I graduated from aviation cadets in the service at Yuma, Arizona on August the 29th of 1943. I was in the class of 43G. I got my wings and I was commissioned an officer.
Now a second lieutenant, Glenn Harrison was transferred to B-25 transition training in Sacramento, California. As a B-25 pilot, Glenn would have been sent to the South Pacific Theater, but fate had other plans. Due to personnel shortages, Glenn and some of his fellow trainees were instead transferred to the Royal Air Force Base in Snetterton, England, to serve in the Western Theater against Nazi Germany and the Luftwaffe. Glenn was officially assigned as a co-pilot to the 339th Squadron, and it wasn't long before he flew his first mission.
Our first mission was a target south of Paris, about 80 miles at Chateau Dun. And we were hit right over the target by flak. And 2 engines were knocked out, and we fell from about 24,000 feet down to 8,000, getting 2 engines back in operations. And we were out over the English Channel about 100 to 150 miles, I guess. And all of a sudden, the third engine went out. We couldn't fly on one engine, so we had to land the ship in the water.
They successfully ditched into the channel, and all 10 members of Glenn's crew survived. They were picked up by British Air Sea Rescue, and just 2 days later, Glenn was back flying missions with a new B-17 bomber and a new crew.
We flew that first mission was on the 23rd of May. And then on the 6th of June was D-Day when we flew a mission that day. And then on the 20th of June, we flew another mission. And the target was Magdeburg, Germany. And we got over the target, and the fighter planes and the flak was pretty thick, and I don't know which hit us, but looked out and the flames were all over the wing and the 2 engines were out, and so we all had to bail out at 24,000 feet.
One by one, the crew leapt from the plane, drifting down into enemy territory. Glenn made it safely to the ground, but his ordeal was far from over. As soon as he touched down, he was assaulted by German civilians before being captured by German soldiers. This was the conclusion of Glenn's 17th mission in the Army Air Force, and it would be his last of the war. Along with other recovered prisoners of war, Glenn was sent to Stalag Luft 3, a Luftwaffe-run POW camp near the German-Poland border. He would remain there until January 1945, when the camp was evacuated. Glenn and his fellow prisoners were part of the Winter Death March, a 300-mile forced march to Stalag 7A. There, Glenn would remain until he and the other 115,000 prisoners were liberated on April 29, 1945. Now, as we approach the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings in Normandy during World War II, our community came together to recognize the heroism of Glenn Harrison and the men and women like him who served their country in its time of need. Earlier this year, Glenn was one of 3 St. Louis area World War II veterans to be awarded the French Legion of Honor Award, the highest civilian honor awarded by the government of France. And on April 29, 2019, his name and story were entered into the congressional record by Senator Josh Hawley, as the senator recounted Glenn's history and thanked him for his service and bravery. At our ceremony, a representative from Senator Hawley's office was on hand to present Glenn with a copy of the congressional record.
And so on behalf of Senator Hawley, we are here to commemorate and honor the soldiers that went before us to make it so that we can stand here today free. And so on behalf of Senator Josh Hawley, I'm going to come around and present this to you. Thank you for your service, sir.
Glenn's story was an inspiration for those in attendance, veteran and civilian alike.
They went through so much, you know, back then, and you know, it was just unbelievable, you know, the trials and tribulations that they had to go through.
I don't know if I could have done it. You know, being a prisoner of war for 10 months and in a Nazi concentration camp, you know, that takes a real man or a real woman to do that. And to me, you know, I have all the respect in the world for those folks.
We would not have our freedom if it wasn't for men like this who did heed to the call and went away and fought for our freedom so we can have the discourse we have today and walk in freedom.
After the ceremony, guests stopped to chat with Glenn, who at 99 years of age remembers his service with startling clarity. It's one thing to read about World War II in history books, and it's something entirely different to speak with and learn from someone who lived through those events. We were proud to see so many members of our community come together to honor Glenn Harrison's service. And we're proud to be able to recognize this man's incredible legacy.
I think we need to teach everyone, no matter if it's old, young, whatever it is, we need to keep reminding the folks what the veterans have done for our country.
Thanks for joining us today. If you have a good story idea, let us know. You can email us at OFallonTV@OFallon.mo.us. And please remember to give back to your community, because O'Fallon matters to all of us.